CD Projekt Red decided to release the behind-the-scenes footage shown at the last E3, and by the looks of it, it looks like Cyberpunk 2077 will deliver. I guess the only thing left to do is wait for the game to finally be released. And wait we will. People across the internet speculate that Cyberpunk 2077 won't be released until the year 2020 at its earliest, maybe even being a cross-generation title like how Grand Theft Auto 5 was when it was launched. Given that the game is still in development for 2 more years, a lot can change and will most likely change by the time the game is finally released. Something that developers CD Projekt Red aren't necessarily worried about, rather mindful of it. After all, a game changing is the nature of game development. That's the reason CD Projekt Red was hesitant to show the public this footage. The reason why they showed this footage to corporate journalists, independent media, and YouTube creators is most likely because they had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, but also because they're expected to have a level of understanding of how game development works. And game design isn't always a straight line, rather it's more like baking a cake. You fill your bowl with all your assets, and you try your best to make sure it comes out looking like the picture on the box, or in the case of video games, your original concept idea. When the game is finally released, I'm sure these same journalists and creators would have compared it to what was shown at E3, but there wouldn't be any gamer backlash. Backlash that's all too familiar to studios like Ubisoft and right now, Insomniac. When the original Watch Dogs was finally released, it received huge gamer backlash because the visuals were drastically downgraded. It didn't stop me from playing the game. In my opinion, it was deeply underrated, but it was clearly not the same game when it came to graphic fidelity. Ubisoft also did the same thing with The Division. Not only were the graphics downgraded, but the features promised never made it to the final build. It's easy for gamers to become jaded and cynical towards companies who pull shit like this. The average gamer is not like your typical journalist. They're built a little different. They're like elephants, never forget. Worse, they never forgive. If I say the phrase, Ridge Racer, or enemy giant crabs, the hardcore gamer will point back to E3 when the Spider-Man font PlayStation 3 was shown off. I, for one, was stoked to use that boomerang controller. And now we can sadly add Puddlegate to the list of things gamers will never forget. Insomniac this week has been receiving huge amounts of gamers backlash and accusations of graphically downgrading their latest PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man. Insomniac claims the allegations are false and the game has not been downgraded. They claim it's the same build that was shown at E3 earlier this year. Side-by-side comparisons of the released game tell a different story. Something is clearly not the same. There are clearly less puddles, thus the hashtag Puddlegate, but it also looks less detailed and flat, without dynamic lighting effects. Either way, the game looks different. Given how passionate gamers can be about the games we play, it was only natural for CD Projekt Red to be a little scared. They say the best way to get over your fears is to confront them head on. Only then will you realize that there was nothing to fear but fear itself. CD Projekt Red faced fear in the eyes, gave it a warm embrace, and released the whole 45-minute video to the public. And even though the game is still in alpha mode at this moment, it was glorious to behold. It was almost unbelievable. It looked like the game I've always been waiting to play. But they also made it clear through a hidden message in the demo that this is how the game looked like at the time of recording, and the game is still deep in development. They're essentially trusting their fans to have an open mind when it comes to these videos that come out of the studio. CD Projekt Red is eager to share. After all, this has been in development for 6 years, but they want to let us know that 2 years is a long time and things will change. In the case of Cyberpunk 2077, it doesn't seem like we'll be having the same issues we're having now with Spider-Man and every other Ubisoft game. You can see the difference between games that come out of studios like Ubisoft versus those from CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt Red has an idea and molds the game concept around it. Ubisoft has a game concept template and creates a game around that. That's why Ubisoft games lack originality and feel the same when you end up playing them, even across genres. The point being, you can see the passion being poured into Cyberpunk 2077 by the bucket loads. In the end, when the game is finally released, gamers will be gamers, as they say. But even if it ends up looking a bit different, I don't think CD Projekt Red will be receiving too much backlash. I think CD Projekt Red has garnered enough respect and trust from its community, and with that trust comes leeway. Being open, vulnerable, and honest with your fans goes a long way with gamers, and I feel by the time we finally get our hands on this title, we'll be too busy living in the world of Cyberpunk 2077, and in the end, any mishaps that may occur now until release will easily be forgotten and easily be forgiven.